What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to be continuing our look at all the new cards from Keyforge Age of Ascension by having a little bit of a gander at all of the new Untamed cards. I'll be getting deep into more themes and all as we go through the next few weeks, but today, all the new Untamed cards run through with a brief little opinion or analysis. So, starting off, we've got Donna. 2 power, 0 armor creature. When you play it, you gain 1 ember for each damage friendly creature. And then when you reap, you heal 2 damage from a creature. It can be quite an incredible way to gain ember, but only if you've got lots of friendly damage creatures. And remember that Untamed are not the beefiest house ever. Like Dusk, for instance. 1 power, 0 armor creature with the new Omega keyword skill means that after you play this, your turn ends. It's got to be the last thing that you do, but it's worth it. It's also got elusive, but it means that all of your creatures enter play ready. Now, if your opponent takes out Dusk on their next turn, it's going to be more difficult with elusive, but they can do it. If they do, then they do. It's as simple as that. But if they don't, then every creature you play from then until it gets destroyed comes into play ready. It's pretty gosh darned awesome. We're also getting Fang House. It's got Assault free and Hazardous free, and it's a 3 power 0 armor creature. Assault free means that before you attack, you deal 3 damage. Hazardous free means before you are attacked, you deal 3 damage. That's a lot of damage before we even get to the fight. We are getting Glimmer, a 1 power, 0 armor creature. I told you they're rarely the beefiest. It's got alpha, which means it has to be the first thing that you do during your turn. Once you've done anything else, played any other cards, you cannot play this. But when you play it, you return a card from your discard pile to your hand. That's pretty good recovery there. Now we're also getting Grovekeeper, a 3 power, 0 armor creature that is really the start of a trend we see for Untamed in Age of Ascension. At the end of your turn, give each neighbouring creature a +1 power counter. There are a whole bunch of creatures, as we're going to see, that really do increase the power of themselves and your other creatures. This is a good one. Both neighbouring creatures get a +1 power every turn. Yeah, that's going to add up quickly. We're also getting Nox, a 3 power creature with no armor, but it gets +3 power for each neighbor it has. So as long as you can get a neighbor on either side, it's a 9 power creature. And as we've seen, there's ways to increase this. Mama Swarm, in terms of design, is one of my favourite cards we've had in either set. I adore those little ember squirrels. 2 power, 0 armor. They get +1 power for each ember in your pool. That's a lot. Or not a lot, it really depends how much ember you've got. These can become extremely powerful. Remember that Untamed is the house that tries to rush to get loads of ember. Persistence Hunting gives you an ember bonus, it's an action card, and when you play it, you exhaust each enemy creature of whichever house you choose. That is one exhausting card. Yes, if your opponent's got creatures out from all 3 of their houses, it's a lot less powerful, but this can absolutely wreck your opponent's next turn. Remember, they become active at the end of their turn. If you exhaust them at the end of your turn, that's a whole turn where they can't use them. 4 power, 0 armor, Rustnora. Cool. Kind of like the design of this as well. It's got a fight ability. Remember, fight abilities only work if you survive the fight. Destroy an artifact. And if it had an ember bonus, you gain that much ember. So you get to destroy it while matching its ember bonus. Given how many really good artifacts there are, this is going to be extremely useful. Song of Spring is an action card with an ember bonus, and when you play it, you shuffle any number of friendly untamed creatures from your hand, your discard pile, or your battle line into your deck. You can heal creatures. You can reuse coming into play abilities. You can shuffle creatures in so that you can put new creatures on the flank, etc. This has so many uses, we're going to see some really creative plays. Tantadlin, not sure how to pronounce it. I'm sure that I love that it's a 9 power creature. 9 power is a lot. The problem is it only deals 2 damage when fighting, which is kind of annoying. But when you fight, you discard a random card from your opponent's archives, and you do have 9 power, so I'm inclined to forgive it. They're everywhere! Gives you an Ember bonus. It's an action, and when you play it, you deal 2 damage to each enemy flank creature, and 1 damage to each enemy creature not on a flank. This does a lot of damage very quickly. Just make sure you don't run into one of these skills like the aforementioned Donna, which profits when you've got lots of damage creatures. Ember Spine Mongrel. 3 power, 0 armor, and it's got Hazardous free. Before your attack, you deal 3 damage. That means if the creature's got 3 power or less, the attack never happens, they just get destroyed. And then after your opponent uses a creature to reap, you gain 1 Ember. Yeah, that's pretty redonk, ladies and gentlemen. They've got to take damage to take you down, but otherwise you just match their reaping without having to do anything. This is one of my favourite cards in the set. Bumble Bird is a 1 power, 0 armor creature. Ain't gonna last very long. And it's got that new alpha keyword skill, means it must be the first card you play during your turn. But when you play it, you put 2 +1 power counters on each other friendly Untamed creature. Yeah, that's going to beef up your Untamed creatures pretty gosh darn quickly. Camouflage is a new upgrade that gives you an Ember bonus, and it means that unless a creature is on a flank, they cannot fight this creature. Gives you protection from a whole bunch of creatures. There's always going to be those turns where the good creatures are on a flank, but you can play this where your opponent's only got creatures on a flank that they want to use, not fight, maybe action, maybe reap, whatever, and then you force them into not attacking the creature or using a creature to fight that they don't really want to. Niffle Grounds. It's an artifact with an Ember bonus, and it's got an action, choose a creature. For the remainder of this turn, that creature loses Taunt and Elusive. It's just a way of being able to go after creatures with Taunt and Elusive. Generally speaking, Taunt says you've got to go after them, not their neighbours. Well, now you can go after the neighbours. And Elusive says you've got to attack them twice because the first attack doesn't happen. Yeah, it does if you use Niffle Grounds. Pakka Anger. 5 power, 0 armor, and the creature to the right of it gets +2 power. So it's another one of these that gives quite a lot of power. And Pakka Jagger, probably pronouncing that wrong, 3 power, 0 armor, it's got Skirmish, and creatures to the left of it gain Skirmish. Of course, if you put Pakka Anger and Pakka Jagger next to each other, you get 2 5-power creatures with Skirmish. When they attack, they take no damage in response. Yeah, that's going to give you a good pair of creatures. Soldiers to Flowers. That is an action. Gives you an Ember bonus, and when you play it, you purge each Untamed creature from each player's discard pile, and the owner gains 1 Ember for each creature you have purged. Do make sure that you don't use this on your turn to give your opponent enough Ember to forge at the beginning of their turn. But you can use it to get rid of their creatures. You can use it to really get ahead in the Ember race, which is what Untamed tend to do. It's a fun card. Way of the Porcupine. It's an upgrade. You get an Ember bonus, and it gives the creature Hazardous free. Yes, that is the 3rd time we've seen Hazardous free. Earthbind is another one of these upgrades which is really there to put on your opponent's creatures, which is a new thing we see in Age of Ascension. You get an Ember bonus, and the creature cannot be used unless its controller has discarded a card this turn. But remember, you've got to discard a card of the active house. They're the only ones you're allowed. So you might either put your opponent in a position where they have to discard a card that they don't want to discard, or not use a creature they want to use. Either of those results is good for you. Gravid Cycle is an action that gives you an Ember bonus. It's got Omega, so it must be the last card you play, then your turn ends. But when you play, you return any card from your discard pile to your hand, ready to use next turn. Although, of course, it will give away to your opponent your plan, because if you get a Mars card back, you're probably choosing Mars next turn, unless you're really trying to, fake them out. Hearts of the Forest is an artifact with an Ember bonus that reads each player cannot forge keys while they have more forged keys than their opponent. If this stays in play for the game, You literally have to take it in turns to forge keys, unless you can stop your opponent forging for a little while. You forge, you can't forge until your opponent has. You forge, you can't forge until your opponent has. Or until they miss a turn, you're even on keys, and then you forge. This will let you forge if you're even on keys, but believe me, there are going to be games where one player isn't playing Artifact Hate, and the other player really takes advantage of Heart of the Forest. This one's going to be big, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really big. Pose Pixies, 1 power, 0 armor creature. I did warn you these were weak. It's got elusive, so you've got to attack it twice to take it out. But it says that ember stolen or captured from your pool is taken from the common supply instead. And this is a permanent skill, so for as long as Pose Pixies are out, this is working. I love this. Is this going to be a card that goes away? Your opponent still gets ember when they steal, but they gain ember rather than steal. That's pretty big. Also, remember that captured ember goes back to the other player when the creature is destroyed. So if your opponent captures ember when you've got Pose Pixies out, you can destroy it and you're actually gaining ember that you didn't have before. That's going to give you an advantage. Punctuated Equilibrium is one of my very, very favourite cards in the entire set. It's phenomenal. It says each player discards their hand, then refills their hand as if they were the end of their turn. It's an action card. So I play all my cards for the turn, finish with this, and then I've got a fresh new hand. Now, you might end up discarding cards from other houses you don't want to, but I adore this card. I think it's redonk. I love it. Quicksand is an action with an ember bonus, and when you play it, you destroy the most powerful creature controlled by each player who does not control a ready untamed creature. Okay, bit wordy, but if you've got a ready untamed creature and your opponent doesn't, you destroy their most powerful creature. Remember that if they've got any untamed creatures, they will ready them at the end of their turn, but maybe you can exhaust them during your turn. Just an idea, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Roxador, a 4 power, 0 armor creature. It's got skirmish, so when it fights, it doesn't take any damage back if you instigate the fight. But unfortunately, it's another one of these. It's also a new thing in Wave 2. You only deal 2 damage while fighting. But when you fight, you stun the attacked creature, and skirmish says you take no damage back, so I still think it's pretty good. And finally, Shard of Life. Every house has a shard artifact in Wave 2, and they all do something depending on how many shards you've got. This one, for every shard you have, you shuffle a card from your discard pile into your deck. I mean, that's kind of what Untamed have done, so, you know, makes sense. There are some really good Untamed cards coming in this wave. I adore Emberspine Mongrel, Heart of the Forest, Punctuated Equilibrium. I think they're my top cards just off the top of the bat. But, oh my goodness, we're going to have some fun playing around with and analysing these further in the future. So there are all the new Untamed cards, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd like to know your opinion about them. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about, well, games like Keyforge and a whole bunch of others. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.